Why, hello there. Awesome Soul here. Back after quite a while. I know, I'm sorry. Today, as some of you might know, is the release of my brand new Dungeons & Dragons class, the Spellslinger. Now, to some of you who aren't on my Discord, you're probably like, what the heck is a Dungeons & Dragons? What the heck is a Spellslinger? Where have you been? What's going on? I know. A little confused. Short answer, I was burnt out. That's where I've been. What's a Dungeons & Dragons? Well, let's be real. I think everybody knows what Dungeons & Dragons is, at least at a base level. That might be a video for another time, but right now, I'm just very excited to show this off. So if you will allow me and humor me, here we go, on this magical journey for this magical class. If you like guns and magic, you're in the right spot. Although, they're not actually guns, but we'll get into that in a second. So, as we can see here, we've got the lovely, beautiful artwork by Zach Frost. If you take a look at the document, link should be in the description of the video. There will be a link to his stuff when you're actually scrolling through. But going down here, we have, oh, what's this? Name reveal. Oh my gosh. Again, if you've been on the Discord, you probably would have known all this stuff. Why aren't you on the Discord? Anyway, nice little table of contents here. Now, what we're going to be viewing today is just a preview image, or a preview document. It only goes up to the 9th page, and even then, that is slightly cut off. If you want the whole thing, maybe you gotta support me. Anyway, shilling aside, you've got your general, required text here, all that fun stuff. So as you can see here, it's got quite a few subclasses. Desperado, if you like the cowboy action, you can, play as a cowboy, but a magic cowboy. Ooh, fancy. I'll go into the classes later, but we should probably get into the base class and what it's all about. So, I won't read this verbatim. If you want to, again, link in the description. You can go ahead and view this at your leisure. There is a preview copy available as well. Well, this is the preview copy, but if you follow the link, you should be able to see it for yourself. So, basically what they're all about is they're a very big brain, high dexterity class. So your main things are going to be dexterity and intelligence. They're all about magical munitions. Well, more about arcane firearms. That was just a fancy little title I decided to throw in there to spice things up a bit. So, TLDR of your firearms, your arcane firearms, rather. Think of them more like a wand or a staff more than an actual gun. But you will actually get tool proficiencies that will allow you to make certain different types. It's more for theming and aesthetics, but you get the idea. So you get proficiency with woodcarver's tools. You can make like wood type things like twisting vines, branches, twirling around to make like a really long barrel or something. Or if you really wanted to, you could get proficiency with smith tools and make an actual magic gun. But it's a little boring. Why not make your gun out of pottery or jewelry, perhaps? Study and tradition. So, spell slinging is sort of like, it's passed down rather than like this big, huge colleges. It's like a special technique, almost. So, in your backstory, usually you would have a mentor. And is your mentor still alive? Who were they? Etc., etc. Again, if you want more information, you can take a look and either pause the video or go to the description. Here's all your class features. You're going to get, first off, it's a half caster, not a full caster, but it basically plays like a full caster, because unlike other half casters where it's like, okay, I'm half of a martial class and half of a spellcasting class, this is full spellcaster. You're going to get cantrips, and cantrips are your main way to attack. And boy, are they, ooh, that's real spicy. We'll get into that in a second. You've got your spell list here. Normal progression for a half caster, except they do get spells at first level, just like the Artificer or Artificer, depending on your chosen pronunciation. I don't think the community's really settled on one. But you've got arcane firearms. You can maintain a certain number of them. First level, you're going to get 2, and eventually you're going to be packing 4 of these bad boys. Enhancers. Now, we'll get into that in a bit, but TLDR, enhancers are permanent upgrades for all of your spells that you attach to a certain firearm. Attached to a certain firearm? What do you mean? Well, we'll also get into that later. Cantrips known, pretty self-explanatory. Again, you can pause it here to take a better look at all the features, but hey, we're just going to go through them in a second anyway. So, what do we have here? Class features. Hit point, it's a D8 class. You've got light armor, simple weapons, and hand crossbows. That was a very last-minute addition, but I think it fits quite thematically. As far as tools go, it lists none, but that's because you get a large variety to pick from as a class feature, so I kind of felt it's easier to save space up here. Saving throws, dex, and intelligence, because, like I said, it's a dexterity and intelligence-based class. Your skills, and your starting equipment. And then if you want to make a quick build, you can follow these instructions here. And now for the class features. Here we go. Firearm proficiency. If your DM is kind enough, generous enough even, to actually include traditional firearms in your setting, well, I don't see why the Spellslinger would not have proficiency with them. They hold them and fire them in a very similar way. Now, is it optimal to have a gun? No, you'd probably want to be an actual gunslinger class. Heavy Arms has a real good take on that. If you haven't seen that, just search up Heavy Arms Gunslinger. But for this, I felt it was just kind of necessary flavor. And yeah, so spell slinging. This is slightly different than a class's spell casting feature. Because the main thing here is these arcane firearms act as your wand or staff or whatever, like, you know, an arcane focus or a druidic focus or a bardic focus or well, I guess there's technically no bardic focus. They just use a musical instrument as their focus. But anyway, that's besides the point. Cleric focus, so on and so forth. The kicker here is the way the class works. There's a certain mechanic right here called conduits. Now, when you make an arcane firearm, each of them have a certain number of what are called conduits. And you've got a space for a cantrip, a space for an enhancer, which we'll get into in a little bit, and a space for a spell of first level or higher. However, you will get more conduits to attach more spells of first level or higher as you progress in the class. Because of that, though, you are required to be holding and firing from an arcane firearm if you want to actually use your spell. Now, conduits aren't like bullets you load in. These are basically... The best way to think of it is almost like a wizard, how they jot notes in their spellbook. You're basically jotting the instructions for your little magical device here, your arcane firearm, to actually shoot off said spell. Spellcasting ability. Now, this is one where some people might be like, wait a second, hold on, that seems a little overpowered. Dexterity is your casting stat. Hold on. You do need intelligence, because all of your enhancers, which are very key and core to the way this class works, scale off of intelligence. So, it's not going to be a, okay, I've got dexterity and I'm done kind of class. Don't worry. I made sure it wasn't going to be that overpowered. As far as balance goes, I've playtested this multiple times, by the way. This isn't just like something I've randomly thrown out there. It does have my seal of approval, but of course feedback is always appreciated. As you can see here, spells cast from your arcane firearm are a little bit different than regular ones, but again, if you want to pause and read that, go for it. Arcane firearm, I do believe I've sort of covered this quite a bit. There's all your tools we talked about before, and enhancers, as we've talked about. These are basically, because I guess I don't really have them included in the preview here. So basically how enhancers work are, you've got, say for example, you want to cast Firebolt, a little cantrip from your gun. You can put on the focus enhancer, and that will increase the range and also lower the crit score by 1. So if you roll a 19 or a 20, then you're going to get it. The range, sort of like I said before, is increased dependent on your intelligence modifier. So if you want to be a big brain sniper boy, crank your intelligence all the way up to 5, and you're going to be firing real far with some real spicy hits, potentially critting a lot more. There are specialized ones that each of the subclasses get, like one from the Cannon Buster. If you like explosions, you're going to like that one. Basically an enhancer for bigger boons. Very fun. Very fun indeed. Seeker of Knowledge. It's basically another way to give you a extra tool proficiency. So if you want to make 2 different types of guns, one out of stone, one out of pottery, there you go. It also gives you 1 bit of expertise, whereas the typical expertise comes in at 3rd level on most classes who get it, but it gives you 2. This one comes in at 2nd level, but only gives you 1 bit of doubling your proficiency. Bullseye. Now, this will play into cantrip rapidfire, so I might as well talk about that before going into Bullseye. Cantrip rapidfire, much like the name suggests, it's a rapid fire of your cantrips. Wow, who would have guessed that? Now, you are able to make multiple cantrips before you start typing. All cantrips fired as a Spellslinger are always rolled as if you are a 1st level caster, meaning it's always going to be 1dx, so 1d10, 1d6, so on and so forth. But you can spread that damage around, potentially critting more, potentially hitting more, and if you end up missing, you're only going to be missing 1 of your attacks, whereas if you're like a max level wizard and you throw out a 4d10 fireball and you miss, you've now missed on 4d10 damage. But if you're a Spellslinger and you miss, max level Spellslinger, and you miss 1 of the attacks, you're now pumping out 3d10, as opposed to the wizard who missed all of their damage. It's also a way to spread around effects. However, if a cantrip has secondary effects, you can't use them on the same target in the same turn. So, like, Ray of Frost, for example, lowers your speed by 10. You're not going to be lowering it by 10, and then 20, and then 30. Once a secondary effect has been applied, that is it. However, you can spread that around to multiple targets, so you can get very strategic with this. It also helps if you pick certain enhancers as well to get the most out of that. If you want to be more of a cantrip focused one, or if you want to be more of a big damage, buff my spells kind of person, you can build like that. Now, going back to Bullseye, you add your dexterity modifier to the first cantrip you make on a turn. So, the reason I went with this and not just adding it to every attack is because if I did add it to every attack, with this being a half caster already, I felt that would be too much. It would be outdoing things like the fighter, or even, a more traditional gunslinger style class. So yeah, you can do quite a bit of damage with your cantrip multi-attack, your bullseye, and all the enhancers you're throwing on there, but at the end of the day, the fighter is still the fighter. And fighters can be pretty scary. And I needed to keep them scary. That's what we like to call game balance, my friend. Now, moving on from there, Spellslinger Specialty. This is your subclass, and as you will notice, you get a feature at 3rd, 6th, 10th, 14th, and 18th. So, a lot of this class's power comes from the specialties, your subclasses. So if you're kind of wondering why maybe the class feature list looked a little bare, that might be why. Trust me, you get some real juicy things in there. Conduit improvement, as I said before, as you level up in this class, you will get more conduits for your firearms, so you can pack in more of those spells you love. Ability score improvement, pretty self-explanatory. Every class gets one. It's basically the same level up, sort of like ability score improvement as the majority of the classes. The only outliers, if I remember correctly, are Rogue, which gets 1 extra, and Fighter, which gets 2 extra. But this is just like all of the majority of the classes, just gets the main amount. Now, rapid maintenance. This one lets you be a bit more strategic on the battlefield. So, whereas some classes might allow you to swap out spells on a long rest, which this class does, however, this lets you swap out a cantrip, a spell on the spell list, which they have access to their full spell list, or an enhancer that you know. As an action, you can tinker with your firearm and switch it to work better in the scenario you're in currently. Just say one of your allies throws a lightning bolt at an enemy, and it seems to be particularly effective, but you don't have any lightning spells. Oh wait, now you do. So you fire away with lightning bolt, and your problems just disappear. I thought that was a real fun feature, very sort of strategic. Like, the way I picture this is like, oh man, what are we gonna do? Quickly ducks behind a rock, quickly tinkers with their firearm as their allies are blasting away, and then you are now prepared, ready for the fight, come out from behind the rock, and win the day. I don't know, it's just the picture I had in my mind when I was making that feature. Next up, conduit improvement. You get more conduits. Rapid fire. You can fire more cantrips. And then enhancer boost. Basically how this works is you now get a second enhancer on a single firearm, meaning your spells benefit from 2 enhancers at the same time. Pretty powerful. But it only lasts for a minute, and it is a long rest feature, and also it's 15th level, so you're not going to be getting that for quite a while. Going down, cantrip rapid fire, you get more cantrips. It follows the same, power level scaling as the cantrips. That's why you're getting 4 cantrip attacks at 17th level, because at 17th level, a regular caster, their cantrips are going to be doing 4d whatever. So 4 attacks, each doing 1d whatever, is fair enough. Conduit improvement. Now all of your firearms can have 4 slots for spells. And by this level, actually by 13th level, you'll have 4 guns. So 4 times 4. You're packing quite the amount of heat. Oh, spell heat, I suppose. Or frost, or lightning, or poison, whatever you want to do. And then, last but certainly not least, their capstone. I wanted to make this quite impactful, and I believe I've done a pretty good job. I don't know, there's a lot of capstones in D&D that are just way too underwhelming. So the way this works is your rapid maintenance feature, which was this guy back here, and your enhancer boost feature, which we just talked about, can now be used once per short rest or long rest, whereas before they were both long rest only. Now, there's the base class. Like I said, it is a little barren, but that is by design, because I wanted a lot of the class flavor and power to come from the Spellslinger specialties, which we are about to dive into right here. But before we do so, I want to go back up here, because I cut myself off when we were about to talk about these. So, there are more than just the Desperado. There are the Infiltrator, the Puppet Master, the Bullet Witch, the Cannon Buster, and the Inquisitor. Desperado, basically, it's your cowboy-themed, rootin' tootin', mental focus, blast your targets away if they make the wrong move kind of class, or subclass. Infiltrator, if you like sneaking and you love teleporting, I mean absolutely adore teleporting, can't get enough of it, this is the class for you. Puppet Master, I kind of based this a little bit off the Scribe's Wizard, but also the Battlesmith Artificer. Yes, the Battlesmith. Sort of a fusion of those two, with a bit of its own flavor as well. So if you like pets, it's a pet class. You know who you are. This is the class for you. Bullet Witch. I think the only things I really need to say here are your broomstick is a sniper rifle, and you can fly. You are a flying sniper witch. If that hasn't sold you, I don't know how else to sell you on that. Cannon Buster, you've got your very tanky, defensive, and explosive subclass. If you want to throw down a protective bunker, like a force bunker, you can do that. It's a very unique feature. Nothing I've ever really seen done before on anything. So, take a look at that. And then, the Inquisitor. Basically, you are a private eye, but for a god. You can use your godly blessings to smite your foes, or heal your allies. So think of it like a paladin, but ranged, and also gets a lot of like sleuthing, intelligence gathering features. And that's it. Now, we can actually dive into the Desperado. There we are. So, additional enhancers, as I said before, there are special enhancers that only certain subclasses can get. Each of them get 2 to pick from, so they have quite the variety, and generally they are slightly more powerful than the basic enhancers. I should also note that you can't have the same enhancer twice, so you've got one gun, it's going to have one enhancer. You can't put the same enhancer on another gun. You got to be a bit strategic there. Hold it right there. This is a real nice feature. Basically, it lets you fire a cantrip as an opportunity attack to something that moves within 30 feet of you. However, if they take the disengage action, as per usual, you can't attack or do an attack of opportunity. You can do this quite a few times up to your proficiency bonus, and it comes back on a short rest, which is quite nice. Wild Intuition gives you more skills and lets you add your intelligence to your initiative. So you are going to be a very speedy boy. Well, at least very quick on the draw. Smooth transition to quick draw. We've got another cool feature here. So basically, when you roll for initiative, you can make a number of attacks with cantrips equal to however many cantrips you can use from your cantrip rapidfire. So this is another thing that's going to scale up with you as you go. And this is whenever you roll for initiative. So I kind of felt that it didn't really need like a per long rest, per short rest type of thing. Because chances are, in D&D, really, you're only ever going to get 1, maybe 2, rarely 3 combats before you ever take rest of some kind. So that should be fine, unless your DM is throwing wave after wave of enemy at you. And at that point, your DM's being kind of mean, so quick draw as much as you want. Focus Pocus. No, 1, I love the name. I do love a good pun. And also, this gives you another bit of expertise. And then it also adds your dexterity, or whenever you make a dexterity or intelligence saving throw, you can add a d4 to the result. Remember, they are already proficient in dex and intelligence saves. So my thinking here was, again, this is the very focused kind of class. So not only like visual focus, but mental focus. So I felt adding a nice little extra oomph to those saves would be real nice. Then, Eliminate. If you want one person gone, you fire a spell of first level or higher, you add your dexterity plus the spell slot used to cast it. This is usually gonna net you, 3, sometimes 6. But if you really invest in dexterity and are constantly firing off high-level spells in the late game, the max you can get is plus 10. So, upcast a fireball, 10d6 plus 10. That's looking at some pretty spicy damage. Deadeye. Now this one, slightly different. It's not a, alright cool, here we go, buff my attack right away kind of thing. You have to sort of think about when you're going to use it. Because you, as a bonus action, use it on your turn. And you're almost like in a state of focus and meditation. You can do all your regular stuff on that turn, but you're basically looking out, surveying the battlefield type of thing. And then on your next turn, you've analyzed everything you need, you've come up with a plan, and you fire away. So you add your intelligence modifier as a bonus to hit and damage. So nothing's really gonna evade your onslaught of attacks here. But it's once per long rest. And then finally, 6-shooter. I gotta be honest, this is mainly here for a slight pun, because I thought, you got your typical 6-shooter gun, like a revolver type of thing. They can make 4 attacks. Why not give them 2 more? So, it does just that. Instead of making 4 attacks, you make 2 extra ones. And If it doesn't already add your dexterity modifier to the attack, it does now. So at this level, your chances are you're going to have a +5 in dexterity. You're going to be doing, again, using the firebolt example, D10 +5 every single target. So that's quite a lot of damage, but it's once per short or long rest. And there we have it, at least for the preview. This little area, the blank area over here, would have included the infiltrator on the full document, and this would have followed, or not followed, but gone down, rather, all the way to 25 pages of spell-slinging goodness. But that is where we are going to do it for now, or end it, rather, if I could word properly. As I said before, if this class interests you, hopefully I've sold you on it. Maybe. It's in the description. Check it out. Again, there is this preview document included. If you're on PC, it should be the little button under the image that says Publisher's Preview. And there you have it. What do you think of this class? Are you interested? Are you someone who even plays D&D? If you don't play D&D, thank you for watching to the very end. I appreciate that. But yeah, hopefully at the very least this has sparked some interest in D&D and potentially some interest in this class. But that is where I will leave it today, as I will ride off into the sunset, arcane firearm in hand. Dun dun dun. Anyway, I will see you whenever I get around to posting another video. Goodbye. Awesome Soul out.